Welcome in to Moving the Chains, brought to you by Founders Federal Credit Union. I'm Kevin Thomas alongside John Epps, alongside Jarrell Hendricks as well. Guys, it's been a couple months now since the season ended on a state championship weekend down there in Orangeburg, but we got some news to bring to the folks. We've got some reclassification, some realignment for 2024, 2026, a lot of movement up, not a ton of movement down, I would say. But guys, looking forward to breaking that down. But how's everybody been doing? You guys been doing well? John, Jarrell, staying busy?
Yeah, too busy, one would say.
Yeah, and same old. I don't know. Not busy enough. I'm missing football. You kind of hit me right there. It's been what, 3 months now? Yeah. It doesn't seem like it's been that long, but it's good to start talking about this 24 season upcoming.
I saw some parent meetings going on this week on Facebook and Twitter, so we're starting to get back into the groove of things. We got spring practice here soon enough, and 7-on-7s and whatnot going on. So it's right around the corner for sure. But if you guys have just tuned in for the first time, we appreciate you. Check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, etc. at Movin Chains, MOVINCHAINS. MovinChains.com is our website, our podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google, and more. We do a weekly preview show live on Tuesday nights throughout the season. We do a recap show, comes out on our podcast platforms as well. We do Friday night spaces. We do coach interviews. Drill and I have got the ring season recaps going on right now, interviewing the coaches who won state titles. We've already got the Christchurch one out. We've got Oceanside Collegiate coming soon and some more as well. We'll have some new coach interviews here before too long also. But before we get into it, guys, as always, Moving the Chains merch. We've got it right now. We got some hats. We've got some toboggans. We've got some sweatshirts, some hoodies, really good stuff. Support the boys. Help us make this show better and better. MTCgear.sc at gmail.com if you have any questions. Really good feeling hoodies, a gray and a white option. I love mine. John, I know you wears a lot too. Really good stuff, isn't it? Jarrell, any comments from you on the hoodies or in any of the merch? I know John and you guys loved wearing it for sure.
Dude, this is half the hat that I ate, during the season. No, I wear my stuff all the time. Richardson hats are fantastic. I wear my hoodies all the time. It's great quality gear. We're going to be in the springtime before long, but, still gets chilly in those nights. So be sure to grab something and then, be Friday night lights before long. Those August, September nights go by pretty quick, and then we'll be into, October, November. So you'll need that stuff. So come equipped, go get some gear.
The hoodie's pretty light too. For as warm as it is, it's light.
It's very good. Very good. So before I guess we get into each class, guys, let's give a quick overview of what happened. So this year, you guys who's tuning in, they added a multiplier to the reclassification, a different component to that. Basically, if a student attended your school, but they were not zoned for your school, they counted as 3. So with that said, we saw a lot of movement. Some schools moved as much as 2 classes. Some moved 1 up, 1 down. So that really threw kind of a wrench in some plans. You'll see some schools that were usually at the lower levels a little bit higher now than before. So it's the first year doing that. I don't think it's a perfect answer yet to what they're looking for, but it is something. We'll play it out for these next 2 years, that 2024 through 2026 season. Then we'll kind of see there how that shakes out for everybody. But let's start looking at 5A now, Joe. If you're going to throw 5A up on the screen there so we can kind of talk through that and some of the movement that we saw there. Right off the bat, one thing that jumps out to me is the number of teams in 5A. 54 teams right now. The reason for that is in South Carolina, you can't have a 6A currently. You can only have 5 classifications. So what they're going to do, supposedly, is they're going to have this 5A. They're going to break it up for the playoffs. How they're going to break it up, we don't know. Is it going to be like a big 16 like the old days? And the other guys playing certain playoffs are going to be literally half and half at like the half divider line as far as attendance goes. We don't really know. But either way, from what I can tell, guys, I think there's a chance that one of these playoff brackets is going to be smaller than what we usually see. And typically we see, I think, 32 teams 32. In the playoffs.
Yeah.
Somebody in 5A is not going to have 32. So with that said, are they going to let them have an extra regular season game, just, play a week shorter? I mean, I don't know what to make of that. But that was something I'm waiting to see how the high school league handles as well. That'll be certainly an interesting point there as far as how they break this up for the playoffs.
Yeah, I think a great idea would be to give the kids a week off. If you've got that situation where it's, say it's 8 teams in the higher bracket or however you want to classify it, give those kids a week off, give them some time to rest, a little bit more time with your family, because that's probably going to be, the first week in November, I believe.
Yeah. Usually start October. That first week. Yep.
So that'd be a nice break. And also those big time schools, you're going to want to see those guys play at 100% health. Somebody's a little banged up, but another week of rest could really make a big difference.
So schools moving into 5A from 4A. We've got Easley, Greenville, Greenwood, Eastside, Riverside, Wade, Hampton. Basically all the Greenville County schools for the most part there. Catawba Ridge, Indian Land, Northwestern, Irmo, Lugoff, Elgin, Ridgeview, Westwood, West Florence, Myrtle Beach, and North Myrtle Beach, Lucy Beckham, and James Island. Wild for me, a couple ones that jumped on me right away is that Indian Land school. Like they were, I think, 1A for a longest time. They've slowly grown now into a 5A program. Irmo, a big-time contender last year. They go up to 5A now. They lost in the lower state championship last year to South Florence. You look at the teams in that Horry County region, Horry 6, I think they're calling it now. You get Myrtle Beach and North Myrtle Beach up there to join Kiona Forest, Conway, Soxie, St. James. That'll be a fun region because they're all so tight-knit there. That'll be really weird, really fun there. Region 7, Lucy Beckham goes up, a school that's, 3 years now into playing football, varsity football. Have already outgrown their school, having to bring in the portables already. They're playing at a 5A level. James Island, it's a school that got hit by the multiplier for sure with them being a charter and whatnot. They go up to 5A. They've been very successful at 4A the last couple of years. Interesting to see what they do there. But overall, I think 5A has some dynamite teams, man. I think there's a lot of guys that could win a state title. I think it just comes down to how is it broken up? Is it literally going to be, an attendance line, Mark, where if you're in this top half of the attendance, you go up, you go down? I don't know. That'll be interesting for me to see for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, too, where, say, if you do that, you could have, just for the sake of having a discussion, say it's 8 schools, you could have 6 of those schools being in the upper state.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how they battle the geography with that as well. You don't really want to see a Region 1 or Region 2 state championship, which, if you go by enrollment, there's a chance that could happen. Yeah. But none of that's been decided.
Yeah.
You don't know what's going to happen with that. And hey, maybe they just say, hey, we're just going to have one 5A playoff bracket, and it's going to be really tough to get in.
Yeah, and you wonder too, like if you're a school, say you're one of the big dogs, say you're a Dutch Fork or you're a Gaffney or you're a Somerville or something like that, and you get put in maybe the lower 5A bracket, and those other 2 guys are in the upper 5A bracket or the better teams. Do you request that, hey, we want to play with the big boys? Like, how is that going to shake out? Because I mean, it would have. I can already see the discourse now. Say that Dutch Fork is in the 5A1 and they win that, and Gaffney's in 5A2 and they win that, but they never played each other. I mean, people would lose it if something like that happened. Like, you really wonder if there's even any say so like in the schools. Like, are they going to be able to like request that, hey, we want to be with the big boys? Like, I don't know. Yeah, that could cause some great chatter online for sure.
Yeah, and these discussions are hopefully happening within the South Carolina High School League, and hopefully they'll find a solution that makes you're not going to make everybody happy.
No,
hopefully makes a solution that makes the most sense, at least.
For sure. Any other thoughts on 5A from you guys when we move on down to the lower classes?
Yeah, just crazy. Just looking at the geography though, it's like you got Greenville County, Spartanburg County up top, and just like all those surrounding Charleston, like you mentioned, Lucy Beckham already outgrowing a school from Wando, after breaking off from Wando, 3 years ago. And just how big, they have 2 full regions, of schools down there, just how, the low country's really exploded around Charleston. It's going to be a lot of fun to see. I don't know how the high school league does it. I know somebody's going to be ecstatic though. I don't know. Gaffney may complain about it, but if you don't have to play Dutch Fork in 5A, I'd be pretty happy about that, boys.
Yeah. And there's probably a lot of people out there be like, hey, we don't have to play Gaffney. That'd be all right.
Yeah.
But I'm excited about it too. I think it's really cool. Region 1 and 2 being that Greenville, Spartanburg rivalry. Region 4 is your standard Richland, Lexington County schools, right there around Lake Murray. That's really, really cool. And then, of course, the Horry 6. I like that. That's really cool to say that. It's cool. I like the way they've got it set up. 5A is going to be a lot of fun. And I like that there's so many. I know I get the issues with having so many schools, But looking at this goes, oh man, this is awesome. This is really cool.
Yeah.
To see this many schools at this high of a level.
Another wonder for me is, when they do break it up for the playoffs, obviously you would assume that they can't do a full region one way or the other. So if a team, saying that, I don't know, say region 3, Northwestern wins that region, say Clover comes in second, they go to separate playoff brackets. Is the second team Clover, are they graded as a region champ at that point because they're the highest team out of the region going to that upper? So I just don't know. So many unknown questions that are really going to play themselves out at some point.
I would think so with the way the seeding would work.
Yeah, you would guess, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I haven't seen the questions yet, that we've gotten on social media, but like, do you bring back the Big 16? And then what does the Big 16 consist of? Is it the 16 largest schools, or is it who they deem are the big boys, of 5A football?
That's a can of worms there.
John, yeah. I know you're obviously grew up here. You're kind of a story. Now, the Big 16 was not always just the biggest 16 schools, correct?
That I was too young to know how that was actually decided. I just remember they played on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
They were the Saturday afternoon championship, and the non-Big 16, they had their own night. They were Friday night standalone game, and that was pretty cool.
That's another thing now with 6 state titles. So they go to having 2 Thursday, 2 Friday, 2 Saturday. How do they mix it up? Is it? I don't know what they do. I don't know because currently it's what 1, 2, 2. Is that right?
Yeah,
am I making that up? Yes, currently.
Yeah, no, you're not.
So I wonder how they're going to shake that up this year.
I got a lot of ideas there.
That'll be quite interesting. But Drew, let's give a shout out to our friends of the program right quick, and then we'll look down in the 4A ranks.
Take your financial game to the next level with Founders Federal Credit Union. Reach your full potential. Relax. Join Founders today. Visit an office near you or relaxjoinfounders.com to apply. Federally insured by NCUA, member qualification required.
Carolina Orthopedic and Neurosurgical Associates, KONA, offers the most advanced training and experience in orthopedic surgery, neurosurgery, sports medicine, and pain management in the upstate. 3 convenient locations in Spartanburg, Duncan, and Greenville. Go to kona.care to learn more.
Looking down now at the 4A ranks, and I'll tell you guys, we're talking off air about this. I think this 4A class might be the toughest, might have the most depth. This 4A is going to be a monster to play in. 41 teams that play football in this class here. A few of the movers. We've got Fountain Inn, the newer school. It'll be in year 3 of football. They go up in that region 1. Southside moves up. Wren moves up. Over in region 2, Blue Ridge, Daniel, the 3A state champ, they go up. Seneca and Travelers Rest. In region 3, Camden, 3A runner-up. They move up along with Dreer. Region 4, Bookman Casey goes up. Gilbert goes up. Gray Collegiate goes up 2 classes from 2A to 4A now. In Region 5, Crestwood, Darlington, Lakewood, and Lower Richmond all go up. And in Region 6, Beaufort goes back to 4A after moving down to 3A in the last class. And then Bishop England, they jump as 2 as well from 2A up to 4A there in Region 6. Like I said, guys, I feel like you see a ton of talent here. You've got Westside, the defending 4A state champ. You got Daniel, the defending 3A state champ. Camden, lower state 3A state champ. South Florence, lower state 4A state champ. Hartsville's always good. Really interested to see what Gray Collegiate can do now at the 4A level. Brooklyn Casey, Gilbert, North Augusta should be really good this year as well. Just a ton of talent, I feel like, in this class. Should be a really fun season there.
Yeah, I think one of the big storylines here is, we can dance around it all we want. We know a big reason why this multiplier was instituted here. And, Gray's has been at the center of the conversation for a large part of that. Huge storyline is going to be, how can Gray do in a classification like 4A? And I think that's going to be really fun. And you look at that region. That region 4 is electric.
Yeah.
And that's some really, really good talent. You got, BC and Gilbert making their move up as well. What does Midland Valley look like post Trayvon Dunbar? That's a really exciting region alone. When you just look at that, and then you go to region 5 as well. That one's exciting too. I think for, upper state gets a lot of conversation, a lot of talk throughout the year. And that's a lot of the, really good teams are in 4A or in the upper state. But that region 4 and 5 lower state is really exciting, regardless of classification. And I think, Fountain Inn, they're going to have a hard time.
Yeah,
I think
they're still building. They're still building.
But if you're going to go to 4A, that might be the best region to go to kind of get your feet wet.
Yeah, looking at Region 4, you obviously mentioned Gray Collegiate, Brooklyn Casey, two, crosstown teams that usually don't play. Now they'll get to. That'll be really cool there. We know about Aiken, Airport, Midland Valley, North Augusta, South Aiken. They're always been in the same region together. It seems like that'll be fun again. Airport's building. Midland Valley is building with Coach Chapman. North Augusta will be really good under Coach Bush. South Aiken, tons of talent there as well. Then Coach Garrick at Aiken as well is trying to get them going there. But really good football here in 4A. I'm super excited. I feel like, you mentioned the 4A state champ, Westside. They lost some guys, Josh Williams, Jamar Boston, but they got some guys back. Cutter Woods is back. Sherrod Richardson's back. I think they may have some more talent coming in. The transfer portal's been open from what I hear. Don't know for sure about that. Coach Lane doing a great job there. And, they've got probably the best quarterback in the state, right? I've got to think about it. But if Cutter's not the best, he's top 3.
Yeah.
And that gives you a good chance to repeat, I feel like, there for the Rams.
Yeah, that alone, just having him at quarterback, most important position on the field, and you got arguably the best one in the state. That's it's going to go a long way. And you got all the confidence in the world coming into the 2025 season, or 2024 season, I should say.
Yeah, I think that's a funny thing in Region 1. Westside snuck up on everybody last year. Nobody had them ranked. They win the state title. They're not sneaking up on anybody. They got the target square on their back, especially in that region. The only thing that scares me about that is who's going to present them with competition once they get out of the non-region play and they get into region. I think they're head and shoulders above all the teams that they're going to play. No disrespect to those guys. They're all playing for second place there. And I love that region, Region 4 and Region 5. So much fun. Those are some outstanding venues, outstanding communities to go watch a football game in. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I got to mention Bishop England. I feel like, with the multiplier, we're talking about that. I feel like they got, screwed as far as, that's concerned. I know it's a private school, but you look at that, they're not playing anybody near them.
Yeah.
Here in Charleston, the closest is probably Colleton County. So, not only do they have to go to classes, now they're taking, 2-hour bus rides every time they hit the football field on Friday night. So it stinks for those guys. But, 4A is extremely deep. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
I do. No, go ahead. Sorry.
They'll have a nice bus, I'm sure, though. They'll be okay.
Yeah, it'll be a nice bus.
I do want to say Region 1, I think Ren's will be pretty good. I know we're not really getting a prediction now. I like what Ren's building, Coach Freight. They got a lot of talent coming back this year. I think the quarterback's back. They should be pretty solid. Region 4, I do want to shout out Gray Collegiate new head coach Angelo Bryant, officially announced this week as well. That'll be fun to see what he can do coming up from Silver Bluff to Gray Collegiate. They're a guy that, really understands his players, builds great connections. He'll do a great job there, I think. But a couple questions we did have. I want to bring them up now for 4A. On Facebook, Landon King said, please talk about Bishop England's appeal. They were one that appealed the first time around, got denied, went to the appellate committee, also got denied. It's tough for them, and I think it's the same thing where there's a little bit of a religious piece to it as well. Because with them being a Catholic school, I think their zone kind of differs, I guess, because some people go there. They're the only Catholic school option, I guess that makes sense,
Yeah,
so you will
a long way.
Yeah. So obviously the zone is a whole issue with the private schools in general. They can't seem to get that figured out. What should be a zone, what should be. But and I will say this: I don't know if their appeal is finished yet. I've heard some rumblings they may try to take it to another level. We'll see. That'll be quite interesting to see how that shakes out. Like you said, Jarrell, all the Charleston schools went either 5A or 3A pretty much.
Yeah.
They get stuck in 4A. They're in a tough spot there for them. And I know that there's talks that's almost going to kill their football program, because they just don't play much football there. They don't have a lot of kids, and that may kill that program for them. I hope not. You don't want to see any program ever fold, but see how that goes. That is certainly an interesting question there from Landon. Also from Brandon Williams on Facebook, said at the top of 4A, looks like the realignment has made it very possible, maybe even likely, that we see a championship rematch. I'd like to hear thoughts on that one. That, of course, would be West Side of the upper state and South Florence out of the lower state. Those two have to be two of the favorites. But like I said, I think 4A is loaded. I mean, there is a lot of good football teams. Westside, Wren, Daniel, Greer, Camden, South Point's always good. Brooklyn Casey, Gilbert, Gray, North Augusta, South Florence, Hartsville. Who knows what Crestwood's going to be after Javion Martin.
And Richland Northeast has their
Richland Northeast, they got
back.
an NC State committed quarterback. Yeah, I mean, May River's getting better. Beaufort, a state champ 2 years ago. I think 4A is really deep. I mean, like I said, Westside, South Florence, certainly two of the favorites, but they're not, I wouldn't say shoe-ins for a state title right now, I feel like.
Well, no, and I think the big thing too is, and we talk about this every year. We talk about Daniel, and we go, well, all right, they lost Pierman, they lost my son Kelly. Who's going to step up? And every year, somebody steps up, and they're right there. Weekend of Champions is one of the favorites, and we know how good Westside was last year. We know how much talent they had. They lost a lot. Daniel, and maybe it's a product of 3A. Maybe that's part of the conference. Maybe that's part of the reason. But I think Daniel is going to be right there with everyone at the top of the list in 4A this year too. And they're going to figure out who's going to be the playmakers for them. Daniel's going to be right there. I think they are. If Westside and Daniel played, if you told me right now who you got, Westside or Daniel, I think I might take Daniel.
It'll be interesting for sure. Another question for 4A on Twitter. Our friend Jimmy Searson at Jimmy_Searson says, how do you think Beaufort will do moving back up to 4A? I like Beaufort in that region a lot. I mean, there is some talent there. May River, where Coach Bonneville is getting better. Hilton Head Island always seems to have some talent there. Bluffton the same way. They're getting better with their new head coach. I think he'll be in year 3 this year, I believe, with them. Bishop England's going to struggle, I feel like, in 4A in football for sure. Colleton County, I think with Coach Kinlock, they're probably still a year or two away from being really competitive, being a really good team. But I think Beaufort's got a good shot to win that region. And certainly make the playoffs, of course, probably be in the top half of that. But, I just don't know what they've got talent-wise coming back. But I don't think they'll have any kind of issues from like a depth or a physicality standpoint at all, I wouldn't think.
No, physicality, I don't think so. I think where it's going to come into play is talent. This is a team that made the playoffs last year. Crestwood thumped them.
Yeah.
They got beat 40 by Crestwood in playoffs. A Crestwood team that is in 4A as well. There's just so much traffic of great teams, especially in the lower state in this 4A setup. I think, and nothing against Beaufort, I think it's gonna be tough for everybody out of that lower state to just be very, very confident, or at least for me to say confidently, oh yeah, this team or this team's gonna win lower state. It's pretty doggone wide open, I think.
Yep. Any other comments from you guys on 4A before we look down at 3?
No, I think we're good.
Perfect. Let's look down now at the 3A ranks. This one is interesting to me here, guys. As Jarrell pulls it up, you guys will see it's a smaller class. We've got 32 schools that play football. And if they keep the same brackets as usual, that would mean that every team is making the playoffs.
You got to cut it.
You
got to cut it.
Every team makes the playoffs, Sean. I mean, you would think you maybe go to a smaller, I guess, what would that be?
I guess you could do 24 and do
24 and do buys. That's probably what I was saying, because honestly, that's probably still too many, but that's neither here nor there. But a smaller class than usual, but interesting to see the only 32 teams. The teams that moved up, you look in that region 2, you see some former 1A schools, Christchurch, Southside Christian, St. Joseph, all the private schools in Greenville, they're up to 3A now. In Region 3, you got a brand new school, Mountain View. They're one of those charter schools as well. They're brand new there in 3A. In Region 4, almost a completely new region. You get Fox Creek, Keenan, Newberry, Silver Bluff, all moving up from 2A there to join Swansea. And then in Region 6, Oceanside Collegiate, they go up one class from 2A to 3A to join the Region 6 ranks. This class, with it being so small, it's almost the opposite of 4A, where I feel like there's not a lot of depth here as far as talented teams goes.
Yeah, you look at, you can look at, especially in the upper state. The upper state's tough because you see BHP jumps off the map, and in that region too, Powdersville jumps off the map. I I think if you're Powdersville, you look at this region, you go, boy, we better win this one. We better win this one. Nothing against Christchurch, Southside, and St. Joe's. And they'll probably agree with us too. Be like, man, it's going to be tough.
The depth is going to be the big issue. The depth
one.
will be the issue, I think. Yeah.
And I think this is from 1 to 3A to me, and you guys tell me what you think. I think from 1 to 3A is a bigger jump from like 2 to 4 or 3 to 5. 3 to 5, maybe, but 1A to 3A, that's a big deal. That's a really big jump.
I feel like a lot of, like I said, it's not necessarily the top level talent. It's just how much of the talent you have, like how many physical bodies you have you can run at there on the field. I think that's where it's going to come in to hurt them for sure.
Yeah, especially baseball. It's a little bit different. You got a handful of good pitchers, you can go a long way. Basketball, a little bit if you got a couple bench guys that can really contribute. But football, really, because you've got to rotate some guys. And if you just don't have the numbers to do it, it's really tough to compete against teams that can.
Mm-hmm. John, I would agree with you, but my thing with 3A, looking at the number of teams there, I would say yes in a normal realignment, but with this one, with so many teams moving up, and then we'll look at 2A here in a little bit. 2 of the heavy hitters moving down to 2A from 3A.
Yeah.
I don't think it's as bad as you would think for those private schools in Greenville. I think you would have to say it's almost like a little bit of a consolation for those guys, to make that jump with everybody else, with the amount of movement that we saw, in that particular class. So I think
that's a really good point.
Like you said, obviously BHP stands out. You look over there too. I think Broom's going to be a team that we'll be talking about a lot this offseason. Jalen McGill is very, very good. We'll get into that at a different time.
I was going to say probably the two best running backs in the state. You get Henderson at BHP and McGill at Broom here in 3A.
Yeah, they're right there. So obviously those are going to be your difference makers there. But I think that's a best case scenario for those 3 schools in Greenville moving up from 1A to 3A.
I'm interested to see Region 4. Looking at it, I don't know who I think the favorite is. Like, I think Newberry is getting pretty good with Coach Peter. He's done a good job there. Silver Bluff, always tough, but new coach. D'Angelo Bryant goes over to Gray Collegiate. They lost a lot of talent. I think 3, D1 commits off of that defense are gone now there for the Bulldogs. Keenan, they've been kind of up and down, it feels like. I don't know what to make. I guess it's a Newberry favorite there in Region 4. I'm guessing.
I'm still Silver Bluff.
We'll see.
I think that's going to be a really, really pivotal game when they meet up.
For sure.
The cool thing about that region, though, if you look at it, it kind of gives those programs some life. These are a few programs that have kind of been beaten up, like Fox Creek, like you said, Keenan, Swansea, that really haven't had much to play for these last few years. I think that's going to make it really interesting for those guys and make it more competitive and, really help out those programs. I really like that region, because it infuses that new blood, and there's so much unknown when it comes to it. You don't know who the best team is. Obviously, you would think Silver Bluff, but with the transition they have at head coach and losing so much talent from last year's team, you really can't pinpoint one team there.
I'm also really intrigued to see Mountain View there in Region 3. New head coach Greg Ramsey comes over from Spartanburg, one of those charter schools there. I don't know. I mean, I think eventually they will be very good, just like an Oceanside or a Gray Collegiate. But year one, I just don't know what kind of depth they will have either, really. I know he's a good coach. He's got a great staff around him. They're interested to see how they do with Broom and Chapman. Then, Union County, new coach as well. Quentin Isom coming down from Crest. They're the DC at Crest the last couple of years, previously at Wren. And then Woodruff, year 2 under Brett Sloan. That's a very intriguing region as well there for Region 3 for me.
Yeah, and Woodruff made a good jump last year. They're very competitive. They kind of made a big step up, I feel like, last year. And I still think Chapman's going to be good. Mountain View, I think a few years ago, I would have said, I don't think we need to worry about them. But we've seen how good Catawba Ridge was early in their history. I think their first year, they were very, very good. Mm-hmm. Lucy Beckham, how quickly they became acclimated. I think for Mountain, I'm just not giving them an excuse. If they're not great, okay, that's fine. It's your first inaugural year. But I'm not going to be blown away and thinking X-Files type logic if they are good, because we've seen new schools come on the scene and play pretty good.
Go ahead, Drill.
I was going to say, especially with Mountain View, to piggyback off that point, the amount of investment they've put in as far as that coaching staff, very experienced, some very quality coaches there. And you got to think about the talent that they're going to be pulling from, with them being a charter school in that area too. So like John said, I wouldn't be surprised if they're good off the bat.
A very interesting point here in 3A. So the 3A state champ, Daniel, they move out. They go to 4A. But you get 2 state champs coming in. You get the 1A state champ, Christchurch moves in, and the 2A state champ, Oceanside Collegiate, they move in as well. Really cool dynamic there. And I'll tell you what, Oceanside Collegiate, what they've got coming back, they've got to be a favorite here in 3A as well. Maybe not the favorite, but one of the top 2-3 teams for sure, you would think. In their region down there with Hanahan, North Charleston, Battery Creek, and Archburg Wilkinson, I think their main competition will be Hanahan. Other than that, I think they will cakewalk the rest of that schedule. That'll be an interesting matchup there when they take on the Hawks for sure. And then Region 5, one that didn't change at all, really. Dillon, they're always been a big dog there. Haven't gotten to that state title level they used to the last couple of years. I know Coach Roller and the boys are itching to get back down there to Columbia or Orangeburg or wherever it's going to be this year. They'll be excited for that. But that's a team that's always going to be right there. LaWarce is grown. I feel like the last couple of years they've had a pretty good program. Marlboro County, they're all over the map. They got a new head coach coming in. Who's it going to be? We don't know yet. We shall see. But a 3A question. We did get one on Twitter from Brett Fields. Coach B. Fields said, when are the boys coming down to Wiley night to enjoy some Hanahan Hawks football, boys? Ooh. I want to see Hanahan play. I'm down with that. Maybe Oceanside later in the year. I don't know if that's home or away. Maybe a non-conference game. We'll see. But I'm down to travel to Hanahan. I know Coach Fields and Coach Willis and Coach Turner got the restaurants and the food spots on lock for us. So we'll make a weekend of it and have a good old time.
Oh yeah. I'd be looking forward to that.
Yeah, we made it down to Charleston last year, so we gotta do it again. We gotta go see the Hawks play for sure. Went to Philip Simmons, and we also saw Oceanside play. So yeah, I think we can get in the schedule
for sure. Any other 3A thoughts, Darrell, John, before we look down at 2A?
Yeah, I'm looking at this classification. I'm looking at the schools, and I got a pretty good idea who's going to be there at the end of it. But then I think about how great and crazy this past season was. Yeah. I'm not even gonna look at it again because I know when we get into the season, who knows what's going to happen. There's going to be all kind of good stuff.
It all changes. So let's look down now at the 2A ranks. Throw that one up there. Yeah. 2A will have 40 teams playing football. You will notice as Drill gets it up there, we get that weird thing to have in 2A a lot where a team plays a football region and then a regular region. You'll see there, Region 1, Clinton is in there, but that's for football only. Other sports are in Region 3. It's interesting. Looking from my point of view, as far as the game I'd want to see, I'd rather see them in Region 3 because it'd be a much more competitive region there. Yes. But that's not up to us. So schools moving around here in 2A. You get Clinton, they go down from 3A to 2A. You get Chester also going down from 3A. Whale Branch in Region 5, they go up from 1A. Philip Simmons, a surprise to me. I thought that school was getting bigger. Instead, they come down from 3A to that Region 6. And then in Region 7, East Clarendon goes up from 1A as well. Couple new schools here, American Leadership Academy in Region 2 in Lexington, a charter school there. And then Atlantic Collegiate in Region 7, a charter school there as well. One name, that you don't see, you usually expect to see there, we'll see here in a minute. Abbeville, they're out of 2A now, but there's still a lot of heavy hitters. You get Clinton and Chester, 2 big dogs in 3A who are always, making deep playoff runs. They come down to the 2A ranks. You get Strom Thurmond, who was really good last year. Saluda, who's always a solid program there. Andrew Jackson's been building something there. Fairfield Central has been good the last few years as well.
96.
96 is getting great with Coach Bennett there for sure. In the lower state, you get Barnwell. They're always a force. Hampton County, the Hurricanes, deep run last year, lower state championship game before falling to Oceanside Collegiate. Whale Branch has been a good 1A program. What they do at 2A, we shall see. Philip Simmons has been a great program. We know Timberland, Woodland, they've had some up and down years. We'll see how they turn out this year. And at Region 7, Marion seems to be kind of running the last couple of years. See what kind of talent they've got this year after having a lot of guys go to the collegiate level. So 2A will be fun for sure. I'm really intrigued to see the new schools, American Leadership and Atlantic Collegiate, the 2 charter schools coming in. Like I said about Mountain View, what kind of talent year one they're going to have, we don't know. Really good coachings at both programs. Coach Ribbons at Atlantic Collegiate has been around the state for a long time. Coach Robin Bacon, you guys remember him from Spring Valley. Why not? He's at American Leadership. We got some great coaches on both those staffs there. They're definitely investing the money into that. So wouldn't be surprised if they make some noise here in year one.
Yeah. I think just like I said earlier with Mountain View, I think we can, and I think everybody that has them on their schedule has got to have the same outlook as well and go, all right, we don't know week 0, who knows what's going to come out of this program, but we need to prepare. We need to prepare like they're going to be really, really good, because there's a chance that both of them will be.
Yep. I got a feeling they're doing some backflips in Clinton, South Carolina, when this realignment came out. I think those guys are going to be poised to win this 2A state title. They've been so good the last 2 years in 3A under Coach Fountain and his leadership. Man, I really don't see how anyone could stop those guys. Them moving down like that has got to just scare everybody in that upper state bracket.
I think Chester's got to feel really good about their chances, but they're the only ones really in the upper state that I look at and go, well, that's me tough. Now, and I know, and I'm surprised, we're probably gonna have some Strom Thurmond.
Yeah,
and
Strom
Saluda
Thurmond should be good,
people,
and Saluda as well. Yeah,
start talking here pretty soon after what Jarrell and I just said. But that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. I welcome it.
Yeah, Region 2 is going to be a lot of fun. I feel like Batesburg-Leesville showed some, good signs of life last year. Won a couple big games, got into the playoffs there. Mentioned 96, I think lost one game into the playoffs under Coach Bennett in year 1. Saluda, always good under Coach Young. Strom Thurmond, Coach Webb's doing a fantastic job there. And the American leadership could throw a wrench in the whole thing. I don't know. And then a team I want to talk about is Sherrall. We talked to Coach Poole last year preseason, and he was really howling. So they had a bunch of young guys. They didn't, play their best football last year, but they had a bunch of ninth graders. They really did. I think they'll be getting better and better. And I want to say as well, we don't know what they're going to do with that Region 4. Is it going to be 1 and 3 go upper state, 2 and 4 go lower state? We don't know how that's going to shake out yet. So that could be quite an interesting move there. I feel like if you're in that region, you probably want to go lower state. I feel like just from the depth of talented teams there, but I don't know. That'll be fun. I think Region 5, Barnwell, Hampton County, Whale Branch, Lake Marion, Edisto, that'll be really neat as well to follow along with.
Yeah, I think that's good. We talk about, especially with the lower classes and the lower classes and the lower state, it's tough getting good regions together just because just the way the schools are spread out. So I think Whale Branch being in that region is pretty cool, because there's not many 1A, 2A lower state regions that look quite like this. This is a really fun looking region. With those three, Hampton County, Whale Branch, and Barnwell, all very, very good contenders.
Question here on Facebook from Brandon Williams says, who are the 1A and 2A favorites now that certain schools have moved up? I know we'll get more into that later, but yeah, you don't see a state title winner in this region from last year, in this class from last year now, since, the 2A winner moved up. Nobody in there in 2A, but any other 2A thoughts, guys, before we look down at the 1A ranks?
Yeah, well, to answer the question, as far as favorites go, I think in the lower state, Philip Sims has got to be up there. I think Philip Sims is one that you really look at, and Barnwell and Hampton County too.
Yeah, both teams bring back a lot. I feel like lost some key pieces, but they have a lot of talent back. But Drill, before we do 1A drill, let's give a quick shout out to our friends of the program again.
Take your financial game to the next level with Founders Federal Credit Union. Reach your full potential. Relax. Join Founders today. Visit an office near you or relaxjoinfounders.com to apply. Federally insured by NCUA, member qualification required.
The George Agency has been serving the insurance needs of South Carolina for over 40 years. They're a full-line insurance agency concentrated in employee benefits and health insurance with an office in Mullins and Murrells Inlet, but they can help you all across the state. They have clients in Greer, Rock Hill, Columbia, and more, so wherever you are, they can help. Give Bradley, Wayne, Richard, and the crew a call or check them out online at thegeorgeagency.net. That's thegeorgeagency.net. Looking down at the 1A ranks now, I may have miscounted because it gets really tricky here, but I think there's 39 football schools, I believe, is the number I came up with there finally, guys. One funny thing you'll see, only one school moved to 1A. And who could that be? Big Bad
Abbeville. Big Abbeville.
A monster at the 2A level is now down in 1A. So if you're a 1A school, you think, hey, we're getting a break. Christchurch is moving up. Southern Christian is moving up. St. Joe's moving up. Abbeville's coming down. So that will be a fun team to play for sure. We've got a lot of talent in 1A, like we always do. It's just I don't know, man. It's going to be tough. One thing I did want to note that I thought was really interesting as well, Lamar, a team that usually bounces back and forth, upper state, lower state, they go back to the upper state now, and they'll be in a region with Louisville, who should be really good again. That could be a must-see matchup at some point in the season between the Silver Foxes and the Lions there. Coach Burst, Coach Bull are doing a fantastic job. That'll be really fun to see. Upper state, looks – there's great teams. There really is. You just – Abbeville. That's what it keeps coming back to. I mean, I think Louisville's good. I think Lamar's good. How good? I don't know. That's the key.
Yeah, C.A. Johnson could be good again. They've been really good the last few years. The Hornets there in Columbia.
Yeah, Region 3 is always fun. Blackfield, Hilda, HKT, Calhoun County, RSM, Wagner Sally. They've all had some decent runs the last couple of years where they make some deep noise in the playoffs. I think Blackfield Hilda under Coach Jones has a lot of talent. I think Holman is back. I believe they've got a lot of studs there. Region 4, Bamberg Earhart, they're always a hard team to knock out. I do want to mention Ridgeland Hardyville has now, what's the word?
Split,
I guess. I don't know. So now there is a Ridgeland school and a Hardyville school for the first athletic year. I think last year the school officially split. They had to play athletics together last year. I think now they actually have two separate programs. So that's cool to see there in Region 4.
That'll be a fun game.
Region 6, can Latta continue to build off of what they had last year, their success? Lakeview is going to be there. Johnsonville, back-to-back lower state titles. They lose a lot, but Coach Cribb does a great job there. How good will they be? Hannah Pamplico has a ton of talent back. If they can stay healthy, that's the team to look out for in 1A. But it's just, I don't know, man. You just never know with 1A. Some of these teams can be so up and down. It's hard to find consistency a lot of times, but it should be a fun class. But you got to look, I think, really at Abbeville. They're probably Tier 1. And you look at a Lamar, Louisville, maybe a Blackfield, Hilda, kind of that Tier 2 out of the upper state, it feels like, which, I mean, you hate to say that. You want it to be competitive, and I really hope it is. But just based off of past history, you would think Abbeville has got to be the favorite.
Yeah, and they certainly are. And, that's no disrespecting anybody else in 1A. I mean, this was a team that, I mean, they were wrecking people at 2A. This is Abbeville is another one of those programs where, yeah, we can talk about who they lost, who they got to replace, this and that. Man, they're always there. They're always there. They've got a great staff, and we've seen them play in person when they weren't 100% healthy, and they're still good. They got kids stepping up, young kids stepping up, kids new to a starting role stepping up. They just know what they're doing. They know how to get it done there. Smart money is on Big A. They've proven themselves, and they deserve the respect from everybody, whether it's 1A or 2A.
Yeah, and they're a team that makes you think maybe at the next class, does the SCHSL look at possibly letting you be one class for a certain sport and other classes for other sports? Because Abbeville, they're a very small school, and they know they can compete at 2A in football. They know that, but it's their other sports that would be, get killed because they're always already having problems with travel and then just participation and whatnot. So they had to be at 1A for those other sports. If you asked them if that was an option, say, hey, you guys want to play 2A football, 1A, everything else, they'd probably say yes. But right now,
they tried to.
The high school league doesn't let them do that. There's a couple other schools that requested to be, one thing in one sport and lower in others. They don't want to go that route yet. Maybe that's something we start looking at in that next free class because I don't know. I mean, we'll see how it shakes out. But if you're a team like Abbeville, I mean, you probably want to play 2A. I mean, honestly.
Well, and what I think is interesting, that seems like that's a tough thing to get into and a tough path to start going down. But we see it every year where, you look at Clinton, for example. Well, you're in one region for one sport and you're in a different region for another sport. Doing that for different classes is not that huge of a stretch if you're doing it with regions already. But that's for the high paying folks to decide. I think if you're Abbeville though, you do everything you can to your out of conference scheduling. Definitely. Well, obviously you can't schedule down because you're 1A, but schedule up, as much as, very high level 2A, 3A schools, to, that way you're still proving yourself and you're still having, even if you cruise through your region schedule, that's half your season.
Yeah.
You got 5 other games to play too.
Yeah. And they usually do schedule. They played teams like, I think,
Powdersville.
Yeah. Powdersville. They played Westside, I believe, last year as well. They'll play some bigger and some good schools for sure. So I'm sure they they will do that there for Coach Nichols. But any other thoughts on 1A, guys? We look at some overall questions from the viewers and from the social media followers and fans that we've got.
No,
I just know this. I'm going to say I know those communities are happy. I know a lot of people were upset about the private schools being there in 1A. Here's your chance. Go
No more complaining now. No more complaining.
You know who is a private?
Go play.
Abbeville.
No more complaining. Prove it on the field.
I think it's cool, man. I love those communities too. Like those are the ones that are just all in for football, man. We start in 5A. Those communities too. They do a great job. They invest a lot in the football programs because they have the resources. But these guys, they use everything that they have. You got more volunteer coaches. You got family members pitching in, helping out. A lot of these they're hyphenated for a reason, because they're not, you're putting 2 towns, 3 towns together to make a school. And so that's exciting stuff for them. And I wish them the best. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to keep up with 1A football. And we didn't mention Cross. We always got to talk about Cross.
Big Cross.
They're always Big Cross, not the little one. So, and they've got to give a shout out to them too. Rod Wilson on the staff for the Super Bowl winning Kansas City Chiefs. So that's cool stuff there.
Really cool to see somebody from the state in general, but especially such a small school, small program like that, be at the top.
Anybody from anywhere can make it.
The top of the whole thing for sure. So a couple other questions that we've got, some overall questions and thoughts here. We've got a question from our Facebook friend Nathan Dodson. So talk a little about the multiplier and how it pushed certain schools up and down into certain classifications. And that's what we really saw, where there wasn't a whole lot of movement down, I guess, from some of the bigger schools. You saw a school like a Clinton or a Chester or an Abbeville that's kind of isolated, really. Those are the ones that went down because they just don't have many kids from outside of their area coming in. So that was really interesting to see the type of schools that went down. But all the schools, 4A, 5A, their numbers jumped up. It's just how much it jumped up. Because, when you get close to those bigger areas, it's easier for folks to travel across town or in district or whatever. Because in Greenville, you drive, 10 minutes, you can probably hit 4 different, school zones you would be in at least. So it's interesting to see how those worked out, some of those schools. But what it showed me and what it should have showed folks, I don't know if they noticed this, was that the privates and the charters got a lot of crap for having kids come from out of their zone. But everybody in the state had a lot of kids coming from out of their zone, especially the at the 4 and 5A ranks. I mean, some of these 5A schools, they just couldn't go any higher. Like, where else are you going to put them? So that's a thing. Like, I think, the charters, like, they get a bad rap, sending the private schools about, recruiting and bringing kids, and they got a bigger zone, all this and that. Yeah, whatever. All these bigger schools are having kids come in from outside of their zone. They really are.
Some schools make shirts about it.
High school sports is going to mimic the NCAA, and that just is what it is. This is happening nationwide. This isn't just a South Carolina problem. I know we talked about it previously. The multiplier, I think, was a good step. I personally would have done a 2 times multiplier to start off with instead of the 3. They made that decision, and now you see where 3A, as a result, has kind of been gutted. And everybody else got kind of pushed up a little bit. But like you said, the result of that, it was not just the charters and the privates. It was a lot of schools that had kids from out of attendance zones. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, if you want to go play with your friend, if you're not in violation of the bylaws of the high school league, by all means, do it. Who cares? Like, I don't care. But you can't cry wolf when somebody does it and then your school's doing the same thing. That's the problem that I have, with the whole situation. But it's cool. I think it's going to be fine. I think in 2 years, we're going to see another massive change, because this isn't going to fix anything. And I think we're going to need a little bit more, I won't say competitive balance, but just balance. I'm a numbers person. I would like to see the distribution of schools be a little bit more equal. And then, these situations where you have these schools where they're going to be traveling, an hour and a half, 2 hours, for football games each Friday. That's not necessarily fair.
And that's football. That's 1 game a week. Think about baseball and basketball, where you're playing
volleyball,
and you're starting at 4 o'clock for basketball. JV games like that. That's tough to get across. The state for those, for sure. We got an email from Brad Ramsey, a very similar question. What are your overall thoughts and opinions on the new alignment? Kind of going through that as we go on. Had a Twitter question from Chris Knight at CKnight5. The wins and losses of schools moving up or down. Who should it benefit? Who might it hinder? I feel like anybody that went down it helps him out. Like,
Sure.
you look at the schools who went to 2A, like a Clinton or a Chester, they got a big break. I feel like same thing with Abbeville going down as well to 1A. Anybody who moved down, I think, was a winner in this whole thing. Honestly,
yeah.
It's tough. Some of these schools, like, we mentioned the private schools going up to 3A, that's really tough for them because that's a big depth jump, I feel like, for them. That'll be tough for sure. But then you look at a school, some schools that won because they didn't move at all. And that's some of these 2A schools, like a Hampton County or, a Barnwell who stayed there in 2A. That's huge for those guys to not have to move to a higher level there. That was a big win for them, I feel like. Kind of same thing for 3A. You look at a BHP, a Broome, a Chapman staying there, not getting to jump up. That was big for them as well. So we're interested to see how that shakes out. But I think that's a couple schools that just jumped to me that I felt like we're winners or losers, I guess.
Yeah, I think Clinton, Clinton and Abbeville, they're two that stand out to me as, the big winners. And I think people in Abbeville might say, well, no, we're not a winner. We want to be in 2A in football. But just from a competitiveness level, I think that's what you got to look at. And, from a boy who really took one on the chin, gosh, I think you might have to say Gray. In all honesty, going from 2 to 4.
That's a big jump,
and not
too.
only going from 2 to 4, but who else is in 4 too? Yep. You had other schools go up as well, of course, but you're in a tough region. And I mean, there is, you look at Daniel going from 3 to 4. They're probably welcoming. They want to do that, that's just that's a tough one to battle for them right out the gate. I think jumping up one classification for certain schools in certain situations, it's not a huge deal, but jumping from 2A to 4A, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. I think they may have the toughest time. And Coach Bryant, it's going to be his first year. I think he's going to do an awesome job there. We'll get into all that later, but it's going to be that's going to be a mountain to climb for them. Not saying they can't do it, but just looking at it on paper right now tonight, that's a tough one for them.
For me, it's the schools that are that were on the cusp of state championships, especially you start looking at 5A. Like you look at those teams like Irmo, like James Island, like they were on the cusp of playing for state championships. And now you got another maybe 2 or 3 hurdles that you have to jump over. I think those are the teams that suffered. I think a lot of it's just those big 3 metro areas in the state, like those Charleston schools, those Columbia schools, and then those Greenville Spartanburg schools that had to move up a class, just because the numbers, people are just moving to those places in droves, and now they're having to play up a level. And even those that weren't on the cusp of championships, maybe those were just, they were solid playoff teams or, trying to play for region championships and things like that. Those schools are, it's going to take them a little while to get their footing, to be competitive in those higher levels.
Yeah. And it's crazy. I was thinking of this while you guys were talking, and I don't know if I want to say this because I might not. Sorry, that's not going to come out right. That's not what I mean.
It's out there now.
I was going to say the teams that moved, if you're really good and you're a team that moved from 4 to 5, you might be in a good spot. I think 4 might be the toughest classification, like depth-wise, top to bottom. A school like Northwestern or an Irmo.
I think Irmo might say no to you, Kevin.
Well, they're playing tough.
Yeah, did you see what region they moved to?
It's not necessarily a bad thing for those guys.
And those are also schools, I think also you got to take into account. I know the kids that are there right now, they don't care. It doesn't mean anything to them. But Irmo's been one of the biggest schools in the state before.
Yeah.
Northwestern's been one of the biggest schools in the state before. And they're good enough too. But then you look at somebody like Lugoff Elgin that's getting smoked in 4A every week. Well, now they're up 5A. It's like, great. Well, what do we do wrong?
2 more winners here, Myrtle Beach and North Myrtle Beach. Not necessarily because of the competition, but because of travel purposes. They were in that region with all the Florence schools, Hartsville, those guys. They were traveling, hour and a half, 2 hours every Friday night. Now they got everybody in Horry County there. Much better for their situation for those guys. And I think Myrtle Beach, they'll be able to compete because they've always got talent, it feels like. North Beach, we'll see what they're building there. But that's a big win for those schools, kind of getting in that region with the guys right around them.
And especially in that region. Carolina Farms is my favorite for that region, but they're going to be able to compete with Conway and Soxie, St. James, and then North Myrtle Beach. That's nothing new. So really, you got to play Carolina Forest, they're the bit kind of big dog in your region. That's one school, and you still got to play the game.
Yeah, I think that's.
I'm looking at 7 and 8. Were James Island and Lucy Beckham in the same region last year?
They were. Remember, they're undefeated playing for the region title.
Look at that draw that they got, and like I said, this is no disrespect, but James Island gets a much tougher draw having to go Fort D Somerville as opposed to Lucy Beckham, who goes to Region 7. That's how crazy those draws were when creating these new regions.
Yeah.
But I guess it does make sense and I don't know exactly where all of those schools are located, but I know where James Island is. And I think that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Than to be
in
7. But yeah, I mean, that's like Lucy Beckham's got to be.
So another thing here that you guys may have forgotten, because I kind of forgot to right now. I knew why I was making that point, and I couldn't remember why. 5A is going to get split.
True.
So if you're a Northwestern and Irmo, you may end up in that bottom part of 5A, which is could be a pretty good spot to be compared to some of these other places. So I think if you moved up to 5A and you're a pretty good team, that might not be the worst thing for you. If they split it attendance wise, might be a good thing.
But does Northwestern count? I mean, heck, they were playing for 5A upper. They were playing for a 5A upper state 2 years ago.
Different.
But for Irmo, a lot better.
You look at Myrtle Beach or Ridgeview, Lucy Beckham, James Island, these schools that just went up.
Yeah,
who might fall in that bottom if they do it intentionally, if they fall in that bottom half, having to maybe play a one less round than you would if you're in 4A. Honestly, too, makes your path maybe a hair easier to get to that title game, depending on how they split up 5A. So that's kind of, I think, what our process was. Sorry, it took me like 5 minutes to get there, but that's what the thought process was.
You're saying another Greenville Northwestern playoff game?
Maybe.
Sign me up for that.
We could see it. Let's see any other questions. Question from our Twitter friend of the program, Zach Walford at ZW Devils. Way too early state championship predictions for both upper state and lower state. Maybe the most underrated teams we're going to look at in 2024. Oh, man. I mean, I know we kind of went through that as we went. We kind of threw out some of our favorites. Any other teams you guys want to highlight? I know we kind of mentioned some of these guys as we talk. I mean, in 5A, it's so tough for me because we don't know how it's going to be split. If I knew that, like, hey, these are the 28 schools or 24 schools going to the top half. These are the 28, whatever, going to the bottom. I would be more likely or feel more confident in making a pick in 5A. But I don't know where the split's going to be, how it's going to shake out. Obviously the normal contenders, Gaffney, Dutch Fork, Northwestern, like they're going to be good. Dorman probably bounces back. Spartanburg, Burns as well. Berkeley should be really good against Somerville. Ashley Ridge, Fort D. I mean, it's hard to say. We just don't know how they're going to shake out. I think in 5A.
It's way too early, anyways, too, because of personnel. And
True.
I mean, and that's not just players. You got coaches, you got coaching vacancies as well.
Yep.
And then you have kids that are going to be moving, to different schools for whatever reason, within the framework of the bylaws there. So, I mean, it's one of those things where it's just too early to tell.
I think as far as Zach's question. As far as 2A goes, I'm going to say just my early look at it. Clinton and Strom, Upper State.
Thurman.
And
Big Thurman.
It's true. Thurman, not Strom. Come on now.
Thurman.
I don't know why, but I always.
You're going to get us knocked out, John.
That's okay. That's what it's going to take for me to learn.
Look.
And then I'm going to go Hampton County, Philip Simmons in the lower state.
I like it. One more note just got sent. We were recording this on a Tuesday night here. This just came out. Gaffney head coach Dan Jones is going to announce this will be his last season coming up.
Ooh.
How much extra sauce that gives the Indians this year? A little extra juice for the boys up in Cherokee County, huh?
New quarterback for those guys.
Yep. So a lot of good teams. Like you guys said, it's hard to make a prediction because still coaches are moving around, players are moving around.
Yeah.
Lot to see how it's all going to shake out. But I think we kind of hit on some of our highlights and some of our favorites as we kind of went through each class for sure. Any other thoughts from you guys overall on the realignment? Questions that are out there. Obviously, the playoffs and how they're going to do every class really is still in the same number of brackets or not. But Anything else from you guys just overall or anything like that on the 1A through 5A ranks?
I agree with Jarrell, or I forget which one you guys said. I think 4A is the most exciting.
Yeah, I'm sad. I feel like 3A got gutted. I'm kind of sad about 3A. I'm just not happy about that one because those were the most fun playoffs this past season.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun to keep up with those teams. You had them getting hot. I mean, look at the state championship game. That was the best state title game that we watched too. So sad about 3A getting gutted. I've stated I don't necessarily agree with the multiplier being as high as it was. But for the most part, I'm not upset with how they did the regions. I'm not really upset about the classifications outside of 3A.
Yeah, I mean, mention that we only had one team appeal their region placement. That was Lower Richland. They wanted to move from Region 5 over to Region 3, I believe they wanted to go to, just for travel purposes. That got denied last week. So that was the only team that made an appeal for that. Other than that, I guess everybody was okay with it. But yeah, some of those schools, like you mentioned, Darrell, down in the Charleston Low Country area, like a Bishop England, they're going to get kind of screwed just because of the way the schools lay out and the way it takes for it to get, it takes forever to get a lot of places down there in general. So they had a hard time. But overall, the regions seem solid to me. I would have liked to have seen Clinton in 2A play in that Region 3 football instead of getting moved over. I'd like to see them play Chester and Fairfield Central in the regular season. I'm sure they probably would too, just for getting ready for the playoff purposes, really. Yeah. But they got moved over to that Region 1, which is interesting to see how they always decide to do that sometimes. I don't really get it, but I don't know. Whatever. Yes. Whatever. Weird stuff. But as always, guys, get your MTC merch, hats, Richardson hats, good stuff, black, gray, all kinds of colorways. We got, toboggans as well. Still a little bit chilly out there. We got the hoodies as well. mtcgear.sc@gmail.com for your questions. You can also send us a note on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, email, whatever. We'll get you guys hooked up with some stuff. We got some really good stuff for you coming down the pipeline as well. Like we always say when the season ends, don't tune us out. Like we're still doing stuff there. Also, we're posting about these new coaches who are getting hired. We're putting out random videos about the season we've come across, or we'll be doing new hire interviews here soon enough. So a lot of really good stuff's coming in the pipe. We got a ring season recap coming out with Coach Wilkes. We got some other schools coming out. All these new hires are popping up here soon for you guys. We're back with a coaching carousel here in a couple months as well. So a lot of really good stuff. Even though the season's not going on, we still got content for you. Because I know, just like us, we know you guys crave high school football too. So definitely want to keep you involved all throughout the offseason. Check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, etc. at Movin Chains, VINCHANS. MovinChains.com is our website. Podcast, Apple, Spotify, Google, and more. A lot of really good stuff coming down the pipe for you guys. A lot of really good content. So it'll be a fun offseason. I'm ready for football already, but it'll be fun working to get to that point as well.
Yeah, and there's a lot of moving pieces. They're still got to find their way in before we get to August and start throwing the ball around.
Yeah, we'll start working on, like Kevin said, we're wrapping up ring season stuff, and then we'll start these coaches interviews. Those are always a lot of fun to catch up with these coaches at their new places, and we'll see how these dominoes keep falling. We've seen some out-of-state stuff here, but that's a big one. You look at Silver Bluff, him moving, Coach Bryant, that's a huge move from him going there to Gray Collegiate. That's just going to keep the faucet trickling and allowing us to put out more content for you guys.
And if you guys have a coach you want us to talk to who you just got hired, let us know. We're happy to talk to all of them. We'll try to talk to all of them we can. But if you guys have anybody particular, let us know. If you got a contact with them, even better. Would love to have you reach out to us and let us know who it is. We'd certainly be happy to have them on. Same thing with preview shows. Even if the guy's been there forever, we'll have them on to preview the season. We're happy to do that as well. Want to get everybody some shine, everybody some love as much as we can. So definitely let us know your thoughts. And if you have any ideas for other stuff, feel free to shoot it to us. We may do it, may not do it. We'll see. But appreciate all your support as always. Any final thoughts from you guys before we shut it down here for our realignment recap show?
Yes, thank you everybody for tuning in. Thank you for all the support, and looking forward to seeing you guys out at games again this year.
Yeah, thanks, guys. It's been so much fun, continuing to grow this thing, and already looking forward to the 24 season. It's going to be a lot of fun.
For Jarrell Hendricks and John Epps, I'm Kevin Thomas. This has been our Movin The Chains realignment recap show brought to you by Founders Federal Credit Union, and we will catch you guys soon.